Hey guys, it's the Ice Hockey Aussies here to talk Power Rankings Week 3, and I'll get us started with pick 32. Uh, at pick 32 this week, I've got the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I have
They've
them
just,
at 32 as well.
yeah, they've just had a really, really terrible run. I don't think anyone thought they'd be in this position with the additions of obviously Johnny Hockey. Um, But yeah, they're not having a good time. Don't get me wrong, the two games they played this week were both against Colorado, but yeah, they got handled pretty easily.
Yeah, there's not much to say. I think coming against Colorado, it's going to be hard, especially going on that overseas trip. But honestly, that's probably your spice that you could get that win. They looked ordinary um, against their last game, not against Colorado and New Jersey, and they just looked like they had no fight in it. So I can't rate them if they don't even try and play like professional players. Only Goudreau was really trying. But yeah, I think it's a solid 32, hands down.
Yeah, agree.
Alrighty, so my 31, I have the San Jose Sharks.
Ooh,
Yes.
all right.
It's
Um,
one of the ones that hadn't moved for me that week.
yeah, I've got them at 29.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't mind that, seeming a lot of their losses were shootout losses, and they were against the Anaheim Ducks, so it's really hard to gauge how good or bad that is. They have been
yeah,
playing alright, Carlson's playing alright, but I still have them at 31 for me, personally.
yeah, look, I like the competitiveness that I've seen from them. I'm not too sure they're going to turn their season around and all of a sudden be back in contention for playoffs and stuff. But um, I am liking what I've seen from them more than what they were showing. So that's why I moved them up a couple of spots this week.
Alrighty, so your pick.
Um, yeah, so at 31, I've got a team. Some people won't agree with it, but I've got the St. Louis Blues. Um,
Okay.
After a brilliant start, they've fallen off a cliff and six straight losses. They're a better team than 31, of course, but just how they're playing at the moment, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, I agree. I've got him at 29. I I I think Bennington's been playing well. Even though the whole entire St. Louis fan base seemed like majority of them have been jumping on him as the issue, even though it's really what's happening in front of him. A lot of tap-ins from behind him. Looks like Ryan O'Reilly has been horrible. It looks like he's disinterest. Maybe he's actually done. He just doesn't look like he's got the motivation there. And they've got some big contracts like Cairo, who's not been firing and is going to be coming on a big contract. So things are worrying for that team. They could be sellers coming into this offseason because of some of the names they have on that. But yeah, 29 for now. I could see him going lower if they continue this.
Yeah, I could see them improving as well though, so it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, 100%. Number 30, I have the Anaheim Ducks.
Yep, yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah, same old. They've been facing San Jose for the past couple games, and shootout wins. It's basically a tie in my opinion. Could have been either way. I gave them the edge over that just because of how they've fought at least in some of their games, and I think like Zegras and stuff is really giving them that fighting power, just like Carlson has been with the San Jose. But it's basically toss and turn for me from 30 and 31 for the Anaheim and San Jose.
Yeah, I had to move them off the bottom. Their win against Toronto at the start of the week. They had a bit of a hiccup against Vancouver in that. Just there was no defense in that game at all. But overall, they took three wins out of the week. Um, I don't think they're gonna be anything special, but it was a good week for them. So yeah, they come up a couple of spots.
Alrighty, your pick.
Okay, at pick 28, I have the Vancouver Canucks.
Okay. Or I don't have him much higher at 27.
Yeah, I had him at 27 before today. It was basically a whoever won again out of that Nashville, Vancouver, pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was expecting a little bit more. I thought they would beat Nashville quite easily, and they looked like they were going to at one
Yeah.
point. Um,
The reason I
but
couldn't is that they had 45 shots to 30. And OT loss. It's kind of a draw. They should be
yeah,
getting. They should be winning that, having that many shots. And they had more shots against Anaheim. They basically destroyed Anaheim 8-5, but
yeah,
they're just conceding too many goals.
yeah. And the concern for me is coughing up yet another multi-goal lead.
Yes,
That's the
yes.
it's been the case all year, and
Yeah,
it
them in
happened
Pittsburgh.
again.
Them in Pittsburgh.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
Alrighty. 28 for me. Nashville for me.
Nashville. Yeah, so we've just sort of
Just
swapped
switched
and
them around.
changed there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just one of those teams that they, like, you look at the lineup and they should have more firepower than what they have. It's just not clicking. Haven't really liked their game. I think they've got a piece or two that need to add. They could make a head coaching change, but it hasn't been great. I definitely think it's this point in the season they got to go for Bedard or a nice high ranking pick.
yeah. I don't see their season getting too much better. I think they are a better side than where they sit. They do have potential to move up the rankings, but for me, I think they'll probably float around that bottom 6, 7 teams for most of the season.
Yeah. The hard one was when the 4-1 win over Calgary. That was where it was like, where do you
You
put them?
start
But yeah,
questioning.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Number 26 for me. I mean, I've just been impressed with these guys. They should be 32nd on this list, but they just keep finding ways to win, and they're playing with so much heart, and it's the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, I've got them in the same spot. I thought at the start of the season they'd be that team. They would play with heart, but just not have the talent. And they're stealing wins. I'm not too
Yeah,
sure what you've
against
seen in
good
regards to them.
teams. Oh, I've just seen them playing with heart. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not playing the smoothest hockey. Um, they're not the most skilled side, but they're gritty. They're grinding wins. They're getting decent goaltending from goaltenders that probably shouldn't. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season we're talking about them at number 32. Um, but for
Well, they
now,
want
they're
to be at
showing.
32. That's the
Well,
thing.
that's the concern. But I also think what you're seeing from them now is what they actually need,
Yeah.
because then their 5,000 seat stadium. There's a lot of negativity around that team.
Well,
But
if you
this
watch their
hot
games though,
start,
they're getting energy in that stadium. Only 5,000 people, but it's a lot of energy. Which
e-
I've been very impressed
exactly,
with.
and I think it's got to do with how they're playing as well. Like that, they're giving them something to be happy about,
Yeah.
and cheer about. They're not getting smashed.
Yeah,
So
their goalie definitely stole one against Florida, who's basically stood on your head. You're not going to get that every night, but that is what they pose that threat. Um, so 25 for me. Yeah, it's disappointing to have them at number one at the start, but I got the Pittsburgh Penguins at 25.
oh wow, I thought I was a bit cruel with how
Yeah.
far I'd made them fall, but you've agreed with me. So
Oh wow. Okay, you made me sound bad. I thought I dropped them too far. Yeah, you can't keep up giving so many shots and conceding so much. And there's something defensively, like the John Marino trade. The more you look at it for this season, and honestly for their future, is absolutely horrible. You trade John Marino for a Ty Smith and a third, but you're kind of going for it for the next few years. And they expected Ty Smith to slot in that third line and play that offensive D, and he hasn't even made the team really. and then you lose John Marino, who's been a standout for New Jersey. It's that looks like a horrible trade for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If Pittsburgh do decide that no, it's over and they're going to go into a rebuild, Ty Smith being only 21 years old or 22, he could fit into that rebuild. But yeah, overall, it's a huge loss for them. Um, and yeah, like you said, if they are going for it, like it looks like they were doing, that last dance sort of thing. You would have thought a player like John Marino would be more wanted than a player like Ty Smith in that side. Um, but here we are. It is what it is. They've
Mm,
lost seven straight. Um, yeah, not much more can be
yeah,
said.
losing 7 straight, you're really not going to be in the top 16 with that, especially so far early in the season. So
Exactly.
your 24 pick.
I've got a team that I like. I think they'll be a lot better than this, but their performances or the results, I think the performances have been there, but the results not so much. The Ottawa Senators.
Oh my god. I really did just copy your list. Jeez. Yeah, I got him in the same spot. I got him dropping 9 positions. I was a bit more optimistic last week, just because they're playing well, but they're not getting the results, and they can
Yeah.
continue to do that. And in hockey, you kind of need to get the results as along with playing well.
Yeah, look, playing well is a part of it, and it's why I hate having them down here because I do
Yeah.
think they are playing a lot better than some of the other teams that are ahead of them. But those results just aren't coming, and when they keep not coming, and they've dropped to 30th in the league standings,
Mm,
you've got to do something. Like they had to go down. I think they will improve, and then that it will finally click for them. But for
yeah.
now, yeah,
What worries me is they've been playing good and not getting the results. Sure, they're coming against top teams, but once you start playing bad, you're definitely not going to get the result, are you? So that's what worries
yeah,
me for the Senators
yep, agreed.
already. 23 for me. You might have them higher. Chicago Blackhawks.
Nope, I've got them at 23.
No way. I
Yeah,
actually thought
yeah,
we'd be really off this week. Maybe it's going to be off in the midfield, but yeah,
somewhere.
it's hard for the Chicago Blackhawks. Like you've said earlier in the videos, they haven't been playing good hockey, but they've been getting results. Kind of the opposite of Ottawa, really. And
It really is.
once they fall off and start playing mediocre hockey, I think they're gonna stay around this section for the rest of the season. It's hard for Kane and Taves to keep continuing what they have been doing, and even when they have been doing good, I believe they're still negative in the plus minus. So
Yeah, exactly. Look, I've still got them in my bottom three for the end of the year. I think they'll they'll keep doing what they're doing until a point where they go, nah, Kane, Tays, we're going to trade you out because obviously we're not going to make playoffs,
yeah,
and then you're just going to see it like fall apart, and they'll drop all the way down the rankings.
you
So
have to
yeah, for
retain half
me.
the salary there, though.
Of course, and they will. It's only for 1 year. Um, so yeah, they'll retain a chunk of the salary, depending on obviously what they're getting back for Kane and Tays. But um, yeah, I think they're holding on to a little like glimmer of hope that they can be a better side than they are. But I don't see it happening. They're not playing
Yeah,
good hockey,
not
and I
when you
think
lose the
it will
Brinket
fall apart.
for what they lost him for. It's
Yeah,
not really gonna
exactly.
do it. You're number 22 then.
My number 22 is the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh my god, get off my
Um,
list, dude. Yeah, Montreal Canadiens, the same. They moved down one
yeah,
position for me.
yeah. I mean, what more can you say? Like, I haven't. I've liked the hockey they're playing. Suzuki, Caulfield, you're seeing some really good signs from them. Slavkovsky scored his third goal the other night. Again, it's just a team that I expect will be around this mark, maybe a bit lower for most of the season. Um, but yeah, I think it's just they're just going to be inconsistent. They're going to be up and down. They're going to have their good days and they're going to have their bad days. And that's really all we're seeing from them at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting with all these bottom teams. I've noticed a big trend, and if I can just pull up the stats really quickly for their team, I believe they're the same situation as a lot of the other teams. They just got some members with huge plus minuses, and
Yeah,
like Nick Suzuki is a +5, but then everything else kind of falls off the wagon there. And when you have players scoring like large amount of points, like point a game, they should be more than at least one +1. You should be looking +2, +3, or
yeah,
+5. And a lot of their players are -2, -3. And Gallagher's been ordinary, as probably all Canadian fans would say. And
very much so.
yeah, so it's hard for them to move up really. My
Yeah.
21, I've got the LA Kings.
Ooh, change it up a bit here, a little,
Yes,
but not by much.
they
I
move up
think,
5 for me.
yeah, look, they move up in mine as well. I've got them at 20. They move up 5 for me as well. Um, it's just today's win against Florida did it for me. I had to put them up a couple of spots.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, I don't see anything wrong with that one. That it's just hard with that team. They're conceding too many shots sometimes. Like they've conceded 38 shots today against Florida, and sure it is Florida, but then they conceded 40 against Dallas, and it's Dallas, but then 28 against St. Louis. So they're not really shutting it down. I don't see that they did concede 19 against Chicago. They did shut that one down, but I've got concerns about their team, and
they shut that
I
one down, but they lost.
yeah, they lost. That's the other thing that I forgot to
Yeah,
add. So they need to add more. I can't move them up until I see more, but beating Florida is a good one. But then also that says more about Florida to me than LA.
yeah, agreed. I think they'll stay around this mark. Um, I can't see them going too much further. I don't think they've got the side for it. But could be proven wrong.
Mm. All right.
All right, at 21, I've got the Washington Capitals.
Oh, okay. I've got them at 20, so we just switch them around.
Yeah, see, I did play around with those couple of positions, to be honest. Um, I don't like having Washington here because I think
It feels
large,
weird. It feels wrong after so many years.
well, it does, but it also, I feel like they're actually better than this, but they are also injury plagued at the moment. Um,
Yeah, horribly injury plagued. Um,
exactly.
and that's what you get when your whole team's 30 plus. But
Yeah,
yeah, it with that many injuries to star players, it's hard to be in the top 16. So
exactly.
for even where they are with that many injuries, it's actually really good.
It's impressive. Yeah, exactly. Um, cool. You're 19.
My 19, I have the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, wow, mate. Did you look at my list beforehand or what?
No, I didn't actually. You caught my
Uh,
thing on there for one moment. You're like, "Oh, you're looking at my list." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
yeah, yeah. Nah,
No,
it's
yeah, I couldn't have them any lower than some of the teams that have been playing. I feel like they're on the upswing. They just got too much firepower. I really like what they're putting together, and I think they will get in the top 16 at some point coming in the future.
yeah.
And
It's only a matter of time, right?
yeah, it's
Um,
basically a matter of
I
time.
I thought they'd be in there already. They've been a bit slower than I thought in getting better. But they are definitely improving and they're on the way up. And I expect we'll see them either next week or the week after probably move into that top 16.
Yeah, it was hard the Seattle Kraken game. It was a pretty grindy game for very low shots, but they lose four
Yeah,
zero. That was the
yeah,
real hard game for me to move them up any further.
yeah. But Seattle has been playing
But Seattle's been good.
stupidly well.
But when you
Exactly.
conceding that many less shots, you shouldn't be conceding 4 goals, or you should at least be putting up a goal. So yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
get shut out there.
true. Um, yeah, and at number 18 for me, um, they've moved up, and I do think they're improving. Austin Matthews finally hitting the scoreboard, which all Toronto fans would love to see. The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Wow, that's exactly where I have them.
Oh wow, I
They move up
like.
4 for
I
me. Oh, 5 for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I considered moving them into the top 16.
I couldn't do
I
it.
just no, me either. I think I need to see more consistency from them. Um,
Yeah,
I
they.
think they'll get there. They're a great side. Um, but yeah, I definitely need to see them do it more often. The win against Boston today was huge. Um, but and I think they will be that top, probably even top 10. But at the moment, it's just starting to click. So I couldn't justify bumping them up that high.
Yeah, my issue is like Justin Holl's been absolutely terrible, and
Yeah.
to replace, I believe it's a right D. It's hard to replace a right D with quality. He's on 2 mil, I think, from memory. But he's played a lot of minutes, and currently having a look at their practice lineup for the upcoming game, I think he was on the first line, which surprised me. It's just they've got defensive woes, too much salary cap tied up at the front, and honestly, it could probably be Dubas's last year. It would have been, I would have fired him if it was me, but
Oh,
that's
it's
me.
got to be make or break. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
But
It's make or break for sure.
and if you don't make it past round one, I'd still say break.
Oh
Alrighty,
yeah. It's making it past round one or it's bust.
yep.
100%.
Alrighty, 17 for me. I juggled with this for a hard, but then your pick kind of made more sense for me, and that was putting Florida here. I did have my number 16 here for,
Oh,
but I couldn't do it because I felt like it was too big of a drop. But yeah, Florida Panthers, they just haven't been the team that you'd expect them to be, which is very disappointing. I didn't think they would fire as hard as some people did because of getting the Kachuk, but he has been good, over a point a game. But just some of the losses they've been racking up, it's kind of disappointing for what type of team they are. Like you lose the Arizona, sure, the goalie stands on his head. It will happen with Arizona, but it's still hard to do. Then you get a shootout win against San Jose, and it's a shootout win. And then conceding 39 shots in the past 2 games. You just can't do that and remain on a good pace.
yeah, it's concerning. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I couldn't believe I had them down so low. Like I had to do a double take. I was like, wow, Florida really dropping this low. I still think they're a great side. I think that they will improve and they'll get it together and make it happen. But yeah, look, that loss against Arizona, they didn't look that great against San Jose, and then today against the Kings, like y- writing's on the wall there. They either need
Mm.
to figure it
Those are
out.
wins you need. All 3 of those wins are needed wins there.
Exactly. Um, well, yeah, I mean, my next pick is another absolute shocker that's fallen off the face of the earth. It's really tough. I mean, early in the season, win streaks, losing streaks can mean you jump 10 spots or drop 10 spots in the power rankings because
Mm.
it's just how it happens this early
Yeah.
in the season.
Well, Florida
You know,
dropped for us.
four exactly four straight wins, four straight losses can mean going from sixth in the standings to 25th.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the Calgary Flames.
Yeah. See, I have them as 16 as well. This was the team I had at 17 and was debating. Like, I just don't feel like I was right having them out of the top 16. And then
It was their performance
yeah.
today. I thought they performed quite well against New Jersey. They they had a clear intent today. Um, I thought they went a bit too far at times, and I thought the refs didn't exactly do the right thing a few times with how they were going, but I liked the idea. I liked the strategy against New Jersey. You know, New Jersey full of speed, full of
Yeah.
skill.
Play
and
a physical
Calgary just
game.
wanted to bully them. They wanted to play that physical game. And sometimes that means you take it too far, which they did a lot of the time. But overall, I like that. I like that game style from them. They knew that they have some speed, but they don't have the speed to match New Jersey. So if they can bully them, put some pressure on them, make New Jersey second guess themselves, it'll keep them in that game and open it up a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
past seasons it would have worked against New Jersey, considering they're such a young side. But I think as everyone's starting to see that they're a different side this season, some of their players are fully matured, in their prime really. But
yeah,
past seasons they would have got bullied out.
oh,
And
100%.
yeah, look, there's not much more I can say on the Calgary. On your like just going on a tangent, the refereeing has been poor in a lot of things that I've seen. I don't like that you can basically rip a guy's head off once you're in the crease and not get a penalty. And
Yeah.
it's confusing for new people watching the game to like, wait, what? You can just do that, and then you watch something, half the size, half the impact, and you'll get, game misconduct or something. It's just like, well, what's going
Well,
on there?
well, exactly. You see massive hits that should be punished and they're not, and then you see little dinky touches and they're off for a hold or they're off for a slash.
Yeah,
The slashing calls where, you touch it's a feather touch on their glove and they're giving slashing calls. But then you've got a bloke with his numbers uh you know, showing, and a guy just runs straight through him into the boards, puts him on the ground. You're going, yeah, that's a game misconduct, and they don't even call a penalty,
yeah,
and you're just like, What?"
yeah,
But you can slash a guy's hands, like, just brush a guy's hands with your stick, and that's 2 minutes.
yeah. We
But
can
you
make a
can,
full video on a tangent on the refereeing, and
yeah,
it's harder for new
yeah,
people to get into the game. Even sometimes I get confused. Even the commentators a lot of time they're like, "What's going to happen here?" And the commentators should know. Um,
yeah,
so
100%.
that's my issue. Anyway, on number
But
15,
yeah,
I've got
we'll
the
move.
Philadelphia Flyers.
Philadelphia Flyers. Oh, I've got them a lot higher than that. Not, I say a lot, it's not too much higher, but I've got them at number 12.
Yep. They were there throughout the week for me, but like that mid table has been fluctuating for me constantly. It's hard to keep it there. But my problem is they're just conceding too many shots. You look at it, it's like 36 against the Rangers, 44 against the Leafs, and then 34 against the Ottawa. It's just too many shots being conceded for my liking, and it's hard to get wins when you concede more than you shoot.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. I think Carter Hart has been a big
Oh,
part
he's been huge this season.
of their season. And you've got to ask that question, right? When does the damn wall break? When does putting up 40 shots a game just break him and he just starts letting in 3, 4, 5 goals a game because he can't do it anymore. Um, so yeah, look, it probably will fall apart for them at some point, but I really like what I'm seeing from them, in terms of their grit and their grind and some of their defensive efforts. Um, they've obviously got to tighten up, stop those shots from getting through to Carter Hart, try and help him out a bit. Um, but so far so good. I expect they'll drop off as the year goes by, but yeah, for now I'm quite liking what I see.
Mm, alrighty.
All right, number 15. So my 15 is the Detroit Red Wings.
Huh. That's interesting because I have them at 12.
Ah, just a bit of a switch and a switcheroo.
Yeah, so they,
I
they
just
didn't they didn't
yeah.
move for me. That was one of those like they're fluctuating everywhere, but then they ended up just not moving.
Yeah, I think it's the inconsistency for me. They get done 8-3 by Buffalo. They beat Washington, who are undermanned, obviously, and then they beat the New York Islanders. I I just I like their team. I like what they're doing. Um, I have a feeling that we're gonna talk about this a lot during the year, where it's just Detroit have a bad week, then they have a good week. then they have a bad week, and then they have a good week.
Yeah,
Um, I just think it's going to be an inconsistent year for them, up and down. I definitely think they're going to be in contention, but
yeah. I had them
yeah,
tank a lot after the Buffalo game. They just got destroyed on multiple facets. But I feel like
yeah,
they kind of bounced it back, especially against the New York Islanders game. So it's going to be that fluctuating year.
yeah, for sure.
Number
All
14 for
right.
me, I have the Rags, the Rangers.
Ooh. So I have the Rangers at 13.
Okay, so not bad, not
So
bad.
just that one spot up.
Yeah, like I think 17 to basically like 8 or something like that is basically interchangeable. It's that close.
Yeah,
It's,
pretty close. Mine's probably from 9 to 17.
yeah, it's probably 9 to
18
17.
I had trouble with.
Yeah. The Rangers they're just not firing as you'd think they would be firing. They're putting things together. You know, Shesterkin's sitting on his head, just doing everything he can. What worries me is that they're probably going to play him like 60 games this season because Halak has been horrible. So
Yeah,
if Shesterkin gets injured, I could even see them not making the playoffs the way the backups have been playing. So that's worrying for me. But other than
yeah,
that, they have been playing somewhat decent.
yeah. Look, I think yeah, a lot of their season relies on Shesterkin staying healthy and playing probably at least 50 games for them to go anywhere. But yeah, I think you're right. If he gets injured, their season has big question marks around it.
Yep. Alrighty, on to you.
Um, all right, now you've actually got these guys higher, but I rate these guys so well. Their season has been fantastic so far. I don't think they'll keep it up. But credit where credit's due, and that's why they're getting a top 16 spot this week. And it's the Seattle Kraken.
Jeez, I actually have them higher, a little bit higher. I have them at 11.
Ooh,
Yeah, I thought it might have been my 13, but I have to give credit where credit's due. I thought it would be one of those teams. They're plus 13 for me, so it's a big move. But you're getting results. You're getting results. I don't expect them to stay there by any means, but they are going to be that team throughout the season that's just going to be hard to play against. They're going to play that grinding game, as they did against the Wild, and it's going to be hard to beat. And they've still got stars, like upcoming stars with Beniers and stuff. But I do see them dropping down in the future. But I have to give credit where credit is due.
yeah, exactly. Like the three games they played this week, Calgary, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh. Anyone could have said, yeah, that's probably three losses for the Kraken. They're three reasonably good teams. I know obviously Calgary and Pittsburgh are on a downward trend at the moment, but still very good teams. Um, but they don't. They win all three games. They play quite well in all three games. Um, so yeah, I mean, they're not doing a lot wrong at the moment, and given their goaltending of Martin Jones, who you wouldn't really expect what he's doing, but he's playing stupidly well.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's hard not to give him credit.
Alrighty, so my 13, probably your 11 then. Well, I hope, is going to be the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, yeah, that's my 11.
They moved two down for me. They just fed off of Columbus this week, basically, which you should be doing. It's hard to gauge where they're at. Um, yeah, it's really hard. Like they've been mid-table at the moment. Once they get all the injuries back, then I feel like they'll be top 8 plus. But it's hard to gauge when you're just feeding off Columbus, especially when you're going international. I guess that's what makes the wins harder in a sense. It could have been, jet lag and then Columbus get a couple cheeky ones, but yeah.
Yeah, look, I still think Columbus are a better team than 32nd, but yeah, look, I had trouble moving them too far, but I did like what I saw from Colorado. I thought they handled Columbus quite well, both games. Um, and I thought we saw a bit of the old Colorado sort of coming out. So I did move them up a couple of spots, but only time will tell. Once they start playing some other better teams, getting
Yeah.
those injuries back, I do think they're setting themselves up for another run at the Stanley Cup for sure.
What was worrying that they conceded 39 shots in the first game and 32 in the second, but
Yeah,
people will be like, "What? They won two out of two games, and you move them down." But they had a huge break up to that point, so
yeah,
yeah, I just feel
it's
like
tough.
it's the other teams have played more and done a little bit better, not than Avalanche being bad.
Exactly, and that's why it's so hard around this mid tier. It all depends on how many games you play versus how many games your opponents play, and
Yeah,
if you're not playing that many games, but your opponents are playing four and they're playing well, then naturally you probably are going to move down. But moving on to the top 10,
yeah,
so
Big Ten.
um, yeah, it is a Big Ten, and I actually think this is potentially the first time these guys have actually gotten into the top 10, which is crazy considering who it is. But it's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, that's where I have Tampa. It's the first time this season that they've been in the top 10 for me as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll have a little speak on them. I don't think they're the old Tampa. They just look different. I don't think any of their players are looking like they used to. I think it's that lag of all those games. They'll probably pick it up somewhere during the season, but I still have my concerns about them. But they're getting results even when they're not looking like themselves. So when they do start looking like themselves, then that's what scares me about Tampa.
yeah. And look, you got to remember they lost a lot of players as well, and that does eventually add up. Um, I still think they're a fantastic side, though. They'll be competitive, but you do have to question how much all of those games over the course of those 3 years really took a toll on some of their players.
Yeah, the big game for me this week, it was the Carolina game. They took it to OT, but they conceded 55 shots. Like
Yeah,
that game shouldn't be going to OT for Carolina. And then the
no,
next big
and
one is
Vasilevsky.
they did beat Buffalo, which was the other big one. But that 55, that scares me for them.
Yeah,
My number 9 is the Winnipeg Jets.
yep, yep. This is a credit where credit's due. Pick
Yeah,
for me as well.
yeah, they move up 9, 8 for you. It's yeah, credit where the credit's due. They're getting the results. I still don't like their game. I f-
No, me either.
they're looking horrible, but they're pulling it off. And Hellebuck really is covering so much. He's probably one of the most underrated goalies in the sense of how much he gets bombarded and left to dry, and he bailing his team out. Um, I don't know if it's sustainable with how they've been playing, but they do have the star power to pull it off on that lineup if they click.
Yeah, they're a lot like Toronto in the sense, except they have better goaltending in Hellebuck.
Yep.
They've got the firepower, and when they're scoring goals, it covers their defensive lapses. Um, like you look at the Vegas Golden Knights one at the start, they conceded 48 shots, um, and lost 2-1 in OT. Like you should probably be losing 4 or 5 goals,
Yep.
conceding that amount of shots, but he sort of just kept them in the game. Um,
Yeah, he was
but
still a
yeah, they
point
they're
here and
getting
there.
results. Yeah.
Alrighty. On to you.
All right. At number 8, they've dropped a couple of spots because of the last couple of games. But it's the Edmonton Oilers.
Ooh, okay. I still have them at number 6, I believe. Just let me have a look.
Yeah, it was
Yep,
it
I
was
still have 'em.
today's game that did it for me. They were very ordinary. Um, I don't know if it was I don't know if they had some fatigue or something. Not that they were playing a back to back, so that doesn't really make sense. But they just they didn't look great. They did
Yeah,
not look on at all.
I think it's credit to Dallas as well. I think Dallas is just a hard team. With the New Jersey game, they could have won that quite easily. You know, they were up with a few minutes to go, and then all of a sudden they concede two. Uh,
Yeah, but I will say. in that game, they played one period, really. The Devils
Yeah.
dominated them in the first. The Devils dominated them in the third. Edmonton had the second period, and that was about it.
Well, the thing is,
Um,
they were letting themselves be dominated in the sense they were just playing full counter-attack hockey,
yeah,
and that's basically what it was. And I get it, you got the speed with those players, but I don't think I like that style. I don't think it's a
not for that team.
it's not a full complete game, and I
No,
think that sums up their roster.
not with the firepower they've got, right?
Yeah.
Like they should be controlling the play, not counter-attacking, especially seeing they don't have a defense good enough to hold off counter-attacking hockey. Um, but yeah,
Alrighty. Eight for me. New York Islanders.
ooh, yeah, one more spot for me. They're in at number 7.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I just think like where they're sitting in the standings, they had a rough start to the season, but
Yep.
the results they are, the way they're sitting in the standings, I couldn't really put them any higher. I feel like this is where they're at the moment, but I definitely see them going higher in the future, and depending if their guys above do hold their ground. But that's pretty much what I have to say for them.
Yeah, look, five game winning streak until today when they lose 3-0 to the Detroit Red Wings. Um, I don't know whether they'll get much higher than this. Um, the way they're playing, I really like it. They bounce back really well. Uh, but I don't know if they go to that next level. Barzell still hasn't scored a goal. So they've still got him to click. But yeah, look, what they've done to turn this around is really good. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, even though it wasn't by much, but the past two games they have been outshot, which was a little worry for me. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
moving on.
Um, at number 6, I've got the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, they're my 7.
Yeah, I'm just liking their game, honestly. Um, they the last two games, um, they took it right to Tampa today. Um, Conceded that empty net goal right at the end. Not to mention they played Carolina yesterday. Took it right to Carolina as well. So you got two of the better teams in the NHL, and you're playing them on a back to back, and you're playing them away on a back to back. So I don't think either of those games takes away from how good Buffalo have been. I think they still played extremely well. Um, and obviously during the week, smashed Detroit 8-3 and smashed the Penguins 6-3 as well. And they were behind against the Penguins to start with. And they just came home so strong. Um, so yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from them at the moment.
Yeah, like you said, my thing on not pushing down too far was the back to back. It's
Yeah,
you're facing two quality teams, then you come on a back to back, and the roster's been the schedule I mean has been stupid. 12, 13 games every second day, but the game day in between there's like 2 or 3 games, and
yeah.
with that type of roster, they're getting a back to back. It doesn't make sense to me. Um,
Well, Pittsburgh had 3 in a row,
yeah,
and
so
they've got another one next week. It just doesn't make sense.
I think there's another talking point on how the schedule's done,
Yep,
honestly, because it's actually brutal, especially for a team like Pittsburgh and whatnot. Like if you're having a slump and then you keep having back to backs, like it's really hard to get the training day in to get out of that. So
yeah,
I
100%.
think the schedule needs to be looked at. Um,
Yep,
Alrighty, is it my number 5?
it is.
It is my number 5. I got the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, me too. I got a feeling that we're gonna have pretty much the same final five.
Yeah,
Maybe one or two
depend
will
depending
differ.
what you did with 1 and 2, maybe
Yeah.
is where we might be different. But yeah, I got
Um,
the Dallas Stars. I think they're playing great hockey. Still one of the best goaltenders and Ottinger in the league.
Even though
Uh,
he's out,
it
Wedgwood's carrying them at the
Yeah,
moment.
Wedgwood's actually been standing alright. And they're even getting some production from their old guys like Jamie Benn and
Finally.
and Sagan, like they're actually playing and not probably fully pulling their weight in their contract, but they're providing.
Yeah, I mean, Ben got his first goal the other day and he gets a hat trick today. So if
Yeah,
he can actually start turning it on,
yeah, like we were
they're
discussing
definitely.
earlier, I think the Arizona Coyote, like he's probably Jamie Ben's paid him off and like, hey man, just pass me one to get my season started, and he did, and then he goes out
And
and starts banging up. So,
yeah, yeah, it might have started his year off for sure.
alrighty, number 4.
My number 4 um, is the New Jersey Devils.
All right, that's where I have Devils as well. They've been fluctuating between 3 and 4 a week for me.
Yeah, I've probably had them at 4 the whole time. I really like my top three. But yeah, look, I mean, a lot of people have been saying, oh, the Devils, they haven't played anyone, they haven't played anyone. Well, guess what? They smoked Columbus Blue Jackets 7-1, and yeah, we know how bad they've performed, but that's what you need to do against a side like
It
the
was the most
Columbus Blue
dominant
Jackets.
game I've ever seen, I think. And that's one
Oh,
credit to New Jersey. Columbus were not there though. They just didn't care
nah.
at a certain point, but I think it's because of the domination. But yeah,
Yeah,
continue on.
they just controlled it. The Vancouver Canucks game, I thought Canucks actually played quite well, better than the scoreline showed. But again, Devils just held the game well. It wasn't one of their best, but they still managed to control the game and just cruise to a 5-2 victory. The Edmonton game, see, these are the next two wins for them were really what stamped it for me. The win against Edmonton. They dominated for 40 minutes. They struggled a little bit for 20 where Edmonton got on, but that's just shows their maturity. They started to get dominated and they rocked up in the third and said, nah, we're not going home without a fight. 2 goals in 7 seconds really turns it around. But that was all brought on by the period they were having up until that point. They were controlling play, they were dominating, they were pressuring Edmonton. And then obviously to get the win done today against the Calgary Flames team that just really just wanted to bully them. They really just wanted to hit them whenever they got the opportunity. Um, and yeah, it was taken to them today and they hit back and they got the job done. So yeah, I think they well deserve their top 5
Yeah,
rank this
their
week.
fourth line, which won't get talked about, but have been on a point streak with
Oh,
Wooden and
insane.
Bastion. Brat's streak has just ended, which is a shame. Nico Hischier, who won't even get talked about because of the other players playing on the team, and or everyone talks about the goaltending, especially with one of them getting injured. But
Yeah,
Nico Hischier's on another level than he has been in the past, and he won't even
oh,
get talked about. So
the,
yeah,
there was the second goal today where Nico Hischier just control. He was doing it throughout the game, but his puck handling, he just holds the puck so well. He's fighting off two Calgary players, controlling the puck, and then flick passes back to to Tatar. Tatar puts it on Zedelin's tape and bang in the back of the net. But it was just that ability to control that puck, and he did it all throughout the game. He's done it all year, and it's why he's a point of game player at the moment. He's
yeah,
just he's phenomenal. He really is, and I think he will start to get the recognition he deserves. Um, if
alrighty.
not this year, next year.
On to number 3, Carolina Hurricanes. I think it's pretty quick cement there.
It's pretty obvious, yeah. Yeah, nah, Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, they've
Nah,
been
I've got Vegas at 3. Um,
Vegas at 3, Boston at 4. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's I've been tossing and turning between New Jersey and Carolina because I think they're both playing a very fast and good game style. It's just Carolina's still got, I feel like, more firepower on that team with the likes of Svechnikov and whatnot. They've been playing really good. If we have a look at their wins, like they took 55 shots against Tampa, like 55. Like that's a statement. And sure, it was a shootout win, but that's a statement. And
That is a statement.
they've been outshooting all their opponents, and they've all been somewhat quality teams. Sure, they beat a downed Washington side, but they've been just outshooting everyone.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. I can't really say too much more on them. I really rate them. I think that they're probably a good chance to go to the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Um, I
It's
wouldn't be
it's
surprised at
amazing
all.
how many favorites you could have out of the Metro right now for the Stanley
Oh,
Cup.
100%, 100%. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for them is their journey to get there. They're one of the best teams, but they've got to go through
Yeah.
three other top teams to
Another
get there.
tangent you could go on is the playoff schedule and how that's treed out. It's just not fair for the
Yeah,
Eastern side.
yeah, well,
On to
especially
number
at the
two and
moment.
number one. Let's see.
Yeah, this is massive, this one. It really is. Um, I contemplated for a long time, and honestly, I've almost got them as equal top,
Oh
to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah, they're both number one in my
Um,
in my point. But yeah,
yeah, I don't, yeah, for me it was hard, but I didn't see enough from either side like wrong to change my rankings from last week. So even though Boston lost today, um I still think they're very, very good. And I need to see more of a downward slope to take them off of that number one pedestal. So I've got the Boston Bruins at number one, and the Vegas Golden Knights at number two.
alrighty, that's a big call, and I agree. Um, I can see how people would have them at number one. Honestly, they're both the same in my opinion. They don't move from last week, and they don't. They're in a league of their own at the moment. I think they've Boston are more the rounded team with what they have and the firepower of their players, and they were playing great even before a lot of their roster was coming back for injury. Pasternak's been amazing. Pavel Zacha, who they picked in the Hoyle trade's been, that good depth that they needed. Vegas, I like it. Their goaltending's been on fire. It still worries me. I don't know how it
Yeah.
plays out for 82 games.
Yeah,
And I think that's where Boston get the big hand up, is they got Allmark, whereas Vegas don't have
they've
that.
got Allmark and
Yeah,
Swayman. I
yeah,
think that's the big part. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. To be honest, because one thing I will say is that the reason why they're doing so well, both of them, is they're getting an even spread across their lines, right? Like that's actually something that the Devils are getting as well. But they're not just having one line dominate, they're getting contributions all across all four lines, both Boston and Vegas. But I think, yeah, you're right. It probably comes down to that goaltending. Um, but hey, I mean, it's working at the moment. There's no reason it won't continue to work, but it is a question mark.
yeah. And Vegas still have Phil Kessel in their depth. The Fire, he's only scored one goal so far this season, and he is, that sniper. So he could be putting it in a lot more. On regards to Boston, there's not much I can say bad about their team. Like it's just full depth. There's
And they don't have Charlie McAvoy yet.
yeah.
That's the other scary part about them is one of their best players still isn't playing.
Like the only thing you could say is like Krejci, 9 games played, 8 points, but he's -3. But even then, he's still been that solid player for them, and one of the players and reason why they've been up there and at number one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, I just think those two are the standouts. Whether it stays that way, who knows? But they're both getting some phenomenal performances from not only their elite stars, but their depth players as well. So I'm enjoying watching both of them play hockey at the moment. I think it's phenomenal. They're scoring goals, they're defending well. Um, yeah, it's honestly, it's a pleasure to watch them play hockey.
Well, I'll do a little review on our standings. Just on the big movements, like you got, for me, Jets, Tampa, and the Kraken moving up 9, 9, and 13. Big moves. Philly 6 and Calgary 13. Florida 9 moving down. Those are the big moves, really. Ottawa and Pittsburgh moving down. On your end, if you want to go through yours.
Yeah, on my end, look, I had a couple of big moves. I think Winnipeg Jets and Tampa moved up a fair bit, 8 and 6. Um, Tampa, I'm not surprised about. Winnipeg, I am a little bit. Um, Seattle, I'm shocked to be honest, but it's well deserved. Moved up 8 spots. Calgary and Florida, super surprising. -13 and -12, but that's just how it is early on in the year. I think if they had the same similar streaks halfway through the season, they don't drop as far as they have. But this early on, it just happens. And then, yeah, it's probably Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins, the two teams coming to the end of their dynasties.
Yeah, it's
What
worrying,
great
isn't it?
dynasties they've been.
This
I
is
mean,
this is
they
meant to be
can't
like their
stay great
last
forever.
hurrah, really, like one of the last hurrahs they have, and it's not panning out so far.
No, I look, I think they'll turn it on. I think the most difficult thing for them is how good the East is. I think that's going to be the hardest part for them. They're not. I think if they were in the West, they would be cruising to a first, second, or third place finish in their division, and then go into playoffs where we know they can perform. But given that it's the East, they're going to have a lot harder of a time doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, cheers for checking out our power rankings. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll reply to your comment. Feel free to leave your rankings in the comments so we can compare and give us your feedback.
Yeah,
Cheerio.
and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.